Imagine standing on the western shore of the Dead Sea in the year AD 73. Before you rises a mountain unlike any other in the ancient world. Its steep cliffs tower nearly 450 meters, 1,500 feet, above the surrounding desert, their rocky faces almost impossible to climb. At the summit sits a magnificent fortress built decades earlier by one of history's most ambitious rulers. Thick stone walls surround palaces, storehouses, watchtowers, and enormous water cisterns capable of sustaining life for years. From below, the fortress appears untouchable. No army has ever stormed its cliffs. No siege engine can easily reach its walls. The mountain itself seems to have become a weapon. Yet across the barren desert floor, thousands of Roman soldiers are gathering. They have marched hundreds of miles through one of the harshest landscapes in the Middle East. Engineers are measuring the slopes. Surveyors are marking the ground. Soldiers are unloading timber, stone, and iron tools. The Romans have not come simply to fight. They have come to solve an engineering problem. The fortress they face is Masada, the final stronghold of Jewish resistance after the First Jewish-Roman War. The empire surrounding it stretches from Britain to Egypt. Behind its walls stand fewer than 1,000 determined defenders. Outside waits the greatest military machine of the ancient world. The battle that followed would become one of history's most famous sieges, not because of its size, but because it demonstrated the extraordinary determination of both the attackers and the defenders. It is a story of endurance, engineering, faith, and one of antiquity's most debated final acts. Long before Roman legions appeared beneath its cliffs, Masada had been transformed into a royal fortress by Herod the Great. Herod ruled Judea under Roman authority during the late 1st century BC. Although remembered for grand construction projects, including the expansion of the Second Temple, he also lived in constant fear of rebellion and assassination. He believed every ruler needed a place of refuge. Masada became that refuge. Situated atop an isolated plateau overlooking the Dead Sea, the fortress was naturally protected by towering cliffs on every side. Access was possible only through narrow, winding paths such as the famous Snake Path. Herod spared no expense. Engineers built strong defensive walls reinforced with towers. Luxurious palaces overlooked the desert from the northern cliff. Storehouses were filled with grain, wine, olive oil, dried fruit, and weapons. Most impressive of all were the enormous water cisterns carved into the mountain. Winter floods flowing through nearby valleys were diverted into these reservoirs, allowing thousands of people to survive even during prolonged drought. Masada was more than a fortress. It was a self-contained city designed to survive isolation. By the middle of the 1st century AD, Roman rule over Judea had become increasingly unpopular. Heavy taxation, political corruption, religious tensions, and harsh Roman governors created deep resentment among many Jewish communities. In AD 66, open rebellion erupted. Jewish rebels seized Jerusalem and expelled Roman forces from much of the region. For Rome, this was unacceptable. The empire had crushed revolts across 3 continents. Losing control of Judea threatened both imperial authority and regional stability. The Roman response was swift. The experienced General Vespasian was sent to suppress the revolt. Accompanied by his son Titus, he systematically reconquered the countryside, capturing city after city. Then political events changed everything. Following the chaos of the Year of the Four Emperors, Vespasian became emperor in AD 69. Command of the campaign passed to Titus. 1 year later, Jerusalem fell. In AD 70, Roman legions surrounded Jerusalem. The siege became one of the most devastating in ancient history. Roman engineers constructed siege ramps, battering rams, and towering assault platforms while cutting off the city's food supply. Months of starvation weakened the defenders. Eventually, Roman troops breached the walls. The Second Temple, one of Judaism's holiest sites, was destroyed. Much of the city burned. Thousands were killed, enslaved, or displaced. Although organized resistance largely collapsed, a few surviving rebel groups escaped into remote strongholds. One of those refuges was Masada. Masada came under the control of a Jewish resistance group known as the Sicarii. Led by Eleazar ben Yoiar, they occupied the fortress and prepared for what they believed would be their final stand. Historical accounts suggest that nearly 1,000 men, women, and children lived within the fortress. Thanks to Herod's preparations decades earlier, they possessed abundant food, water, and defensive positions. Unlike defenders trapped in ordinary cities, the inhabitants of Masada were not immediately threatened by starvation. Their greatest advantage was geography. Steep cliffs protected nearly every side of the mountain. The narrow approaches could easily be defended by only a handful of determined fighters. For many observers, Masada appeared unconquerable. Rome refuses to leave an enemy behind despite the destruction of Jerusalem. Rome considered the war unfinished. No rebellion could be allowed to survive. Even a small pocket of resistance could inspire future revolts. Responsibility for eliminating Masada fell to the Roman governor Lucius Flavius Silva. He assembled approximately 8,000 to 9,000 soldiers, including the experienced Legio Exfratensis, auxiliary troops, engineers, and thousands of laborers. Unlike many earlier sieges, this campaign would test Roman engineering under some of the harshest environmental conditions in the empire. The Judean desert offered almost no shade. Summer temperatures frequently exceeded 40 degrees Celsius. Water remained scarce. Transporting supplies across such unforgiving terrain required extraordinary organization. Yet Roman logistics had been perfected over centuries. Roads, pack animals, disciplined marching formations, and carefully planned supply chains allowed the army to operate even in landscapes where survival itself seemed difficult. As Roman columns approached Masada, the defenders watched from above. From the summit, they could see dust clouds rising behind the advancing legions. The Roman army did not rush toward the mountain. Instead, they established camps around its base. Engineers immediately surveyed the terrain. Within days, soldiers began constructing fortified camps connected by a continuous stone wall known as a circumvallation line. This wall completely surrounded Masada. Its purpose was simple. No one would escape. No reinforcements would enter. Even though historians believe the defenders possessed enough supplies to survive for years, the Romans intended to isolate them completely while preparing their assault. Remarkably, the remains of these Roman camps and the circumvallation wall are still visible today, preserved by the dry desert climate. They remain among the best-preserved Roman siege works anywhere in the world. An impossible engineering challenge, the Romans soon faced the same question every commander before them had confronted. How do you attack a fortress built on top of a mountain? Conventional siege towers could not climb cliffs. Battering rams could not reach the gates. Scaling ladders offered little hope against defenders positioned hundreds of meters above. The mountain itself had become Masada's greatest defense. For many armies, the siege might have ended in frustration. But Roman engineers rarely accepted the impossible. They searched the surrounding landscape for any natural advantage. On the western side of Masada, they found exactly what they needed, a rocky spur that rose higher than the surrounding desert floor. It did not reach the summit, but it came closer than anywhere else. The Romans made a decision that would become one of the greatest engineering feats of the ancient world. They would not climb the mountain. They would build the mountain higher. The Roman engineers had reached a remarkable conclusion. If they could not scale Masada's towering cliffs, they would reshape the landscape itself. On the mountain's western side lay a natural rocky spur that rose partway toward the summit. It offered the closest point from which an assault could be launched. Even so, it remained far below the fortress walls. The remaining distance had to be filled by human hands. Thousands of soldiers, engineers, laborers, and enslaved workers began one of the greatest construction projects in Roman military history. Day after day, they hauled enormous quantities of stone, earth, timber, and rubble toward the western slope. Layer by layer, the materials formed a gigantic siege ramp that slowly climbed toward the fortress. The work demanded extraordinary discipline. The Judean desert offered almost no mercy. The blazing sun beat down on the workers from dawn until dusk. Dust filled the air. Water had to be transported across miles of barren landscape. Every stone carried uphill represented another step toward the walls of Masada. From the summit, the defenders watched the impossible unfold. At first, the construction may have seemed almost unbelievable. The Romans were not searching for another path or waiting for surrender. They were creating an entirely new route to the fortress. The defenders attempted to disrupt the work whenever possible. Missiles and arrows were fired from the walls toward the workers below. But the enormous height of the mountain greatly reduced their effectiveness. Roman soldiers protected the laborers with shields and defensive formations while the engineers continued their work without interruption. Unlike many ancient armies that relied on quick assaults, the Roman military understood that patience could become a weapon. Every passing day brought the ramp closer to the walls. Weeks turned into months. Gradually, the slope rose until it nearly reached the summit. The Romans had transformed the mountain itself into a road for their army. With the siege ramp completed, the next phase of the operation began. Roman engineers assembled an enormous wooden siege tower on top of the newly constructed ramp. Protected with iron plates to reduce the risk of fire, the towering structure overlooked the defenders' walls. From its upper platforms, Roman archers and artillery crews could fire directly into the fortress. Powerful ballistae launched heavy stone projectiles across the battlements, forcing defenders to seek cover. Large arrow-firing machines targeted anyone attempting to resist the approaching assault. Behind the protection of this overwhelming firepower, the Romans pushed forward another devastating weapon. A massive battering ram. Suspended beneath protective wooden beams, the heavy ram repeatedly struck Masada's outer wall. Each impact echoed across the desert. Dust and fragments of stone fell from the ancient fortifications. The defenders realized that the walls which had protected them for years could not withstand endless punishment. According to the first-century Jewish historian Flavius Josephus, the defenders attempted one final defensive innovation. Behind the stone wall, they constructed a second barrier made from timber beams filled with packed earth. Unlike stone, this softer structure absorbed the force of the battering ram more effectively. For a moment, it appeared that the new wall might succeed. The Roman advance slowed, but the engineers quickly adapted. Roman soldiers fired burning projectiles into the wooden defenses. Flames spread through the timber, while shifting winds carried smoke across the fortress. At first, the wind pushed the fire back toward the Roman position, threatening the attackers themselves. Then, the wind changed direction. The flames swept into the defenders' barrier. Soon the entire wooden wall burned. By evening, the final obstacle protecting Masada had collapsed. The Romans prepared for the final assault the following morning. Inside the fortress, however, a different decision was unfolding. According to Josephus, the leader of the defenders, Eleazar ben Yoiar, gathered the remaining inhabitants and delivered a passionate speech. He argued that capture by Rome would lead only to slavery, humiliation, or execution. Freedom, he declared, was more valuable than life itself. Josephus describes a dramatic sequence of events. The defenders supposedly chose collective death rather than surrender. Lots were cast to determine who would carry out the final act. One by one, families were said to have died until only a single man remained, who completed the task before taking his own life. When the Roman soldiers entered Masada the next morning, they reportedly found silence. Instead of celebrating a military victory over living enemies, they discovered a fortress filled with the dead. Only 2 women and several children, who had hidden inside a cistern, survived to describe what had happened. This account has become one of the most famous and debated stories of the ancient world. Modern historians continue to discuss Josephus' narrative. Some scholars believe his description is broadly accurate, while others question whether every detail can be verified. Josephus was not present during the final moments of the siege and relied on survivor testimony. Archaeological discoveries have confirmed many aspects of the Roman siege works and the fortress itself, but the exact events inside Masada remain the subject of historical debate. What archaeology has revealed, however, is extraordinary. Excavations led by Yigal Yadin during the 1960s uncovered Herod's magnificent palaces, massive storehouses, ritual baths, workshops, defensive walls, and sophisticated water systems. Perhaps even more remarkable is the preservation of the Roman siege works outside the fortress. The circumvallation wall still surrounds the mountain. 8 Roman camps remain clearly visible. Most astonishing of all, the gigantic siege ramp built nearly 2,000 years ago still rises along Masada's western slope. Few Roman military engineering projects have survived so completely. Today, visitors can walk along the same routes once used by Roman legionaries as they prepared for their final assault. Masada eventually became far more than an archaeological site. For many people, it evolved into a symbol of courage, sacrifice, resistance, and determination. During the 20th century, the fortress became closely associated with national identity in modern Israel. For years, military ceremonies were held atop the mountain, reflecting the site's powerful emotional significance. At the same time, historians continue to encourage careful examination of both the archaeological evidence and the ancient written sources. The story of Masada reminds us that history is often shaped by both facts and the ways societies choose to remember them. From a military perspective, the siege remains one of the greatest demonstrations of Roman engineering. The Romans did not rely solely on superior numbers. They relied on organization. Surveyors carefully studied the terrain. Engineers designed the siege ramp. Logistics ensured a constant supply of food, water, timber, and stone. Disciplined soldiers carried out months of exhausting labor under brutal desert conditions. Every element of the Roman army worked together with remarkable efficiency. Masada also reveals an important truth about warfare in the ancient world. Victory was rarely decided by courage alone. Fortresses depended on architecture. Armies depended on logistics. Success often belonged to those who could solve engineering problems more effectively than their opponents. The defenders of Masada possessed one of the strongest natural fortresses ever constructed. The Romans responded not by searching for easier paths, but by creating one themselves. Nearly 2,000 years later, the siege still captures the imagination because it combines 2 extraordinary stories. One is the story of an empire whose engineering capabilities allowed it to conquer almost any obstacle placed before it. The other is the story of a small community determined to resist until the very end, regardless of the odds. Standing atop Masada today, overlooking the Dead Sea and the endless Judean desert, it is still possible to see the Roman camps below and the massive siege ramp climbing toward the summit. The landscape has changed little since the 1st century. The silence of the desert makes it easy to imagine the sound of marching legions, the crash of battering rams, the commands of Roman engineers, and the determination of those waiting behind the walls. The Siege of Masada was more than the final chapter of the First Jewish-Roman War. It became one of history's greatest examples of engineering, endurance, and human resolve. Empires rise. Fortresses fall. But the lessons carved into the cliffs of Masada continue to echo across the centuries, reminding us that the greatest battles are often fought not only with swords and shields, but with determination, ingenuity, and the unbreakable strength of the human spirit.